the American worker, unfortunately stricken once again with false consciousness and voting to kick out one set of slave masters and install another, but the boss is still the boss. And unfortunately, it seems like more than ever, the American working class is just not interested in advocating for itself as a class. And it's tough to see.
Yeah.
It's tough to see. Hey, think about this, and I got to add in also, balls and strikes here. I have no personal opinions on this stuff. A lot of left-wing people, I think that it was a bad idea if you're one of those people who encourage people to vote Kamabla for this, for your own credibility. I'm going to be honest here. And I say this as somebody who people have assailed my credibility once or twice before, but, I think the concept of social chauvinism, I think has really disappeared from a lot of people. And maybe it's been too long since World War I, but has disappeared from a lot of people's like analysis, of politics. And I think that it is a common trap that not just American, but many on the left, fall into. And I think that there's a reckoning is due, and there's oftentimes a reckoning about this, and then people backslide and fall into taylorism and opportunism. And you hate to see it, but you see it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of goes, you can throw that in sort of in the big soup of, I don't know, of things we're saying here about, people not, kind of like realizing maybe some ways in which they were wrong about how the world works, or seeing things go away and being surprised when it didn't pan out in this sort of constructed story that they told themselves,
Yeah.
And I think that, like, to kind of maybe find a little bit of a brighter, not a brighter side, but like to kind of end it on a not as like negative note on that, is just that kind of like coming to learn these things is, I mean, we throw this around a lot, mostly joking because it's an easy thing to throw around and it's funny, but like coming to learn these things like literally is a dialectical process. Like definitionally, that is the dialectic, right? Like you come to understand the dialectic by struggling through it, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of like to say, like in the word, like how Jillian Rose put it, which is like, and you misknow, and yet you grow, right? Getting something wrong isn't the end of the story, It's part of the story. So for people who are still struggling with that, like, it's not about, if you got everything right, then you're not thinking dialectically. How about that?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And, and I don't fault anyone for doing anything in this world. We're all just a squirrel trying to get a nut, but, I encourage people to think about maybe politics in a more rigid way sometimes, because I think it is helpful. But I bet people get mad at me for being like, I didn't vote. I went on the day before election day, I went on like a normal guy podcast, not a normal guy podcast, but like not a political podcast. And I didn't really want to talk about it, but I said that I wasn't going to vote for, Vice President Harris. And I'm like, I wonder if people get really mad at me for that.
I don't think so.
You know what? He won by so much that it does not matter. It does not matter.